Welcome to Nothing But Net. I'm Dave Rudin, and on a week where Ridgefield remained undefeated and Trumbull showed that they are probably a solid number 2 team right now. They're Mike Walsh, my co-host. There's only one place to start, and I'm ready to talk about him for as long as you want to, and that's Jaylen Brown and the Jaylen Brown Show, which has been picking up steam. And Jaylen Brown put on a show, the Norwalk Guard, at Staples Tuesday night with a 50-point performance to help the Bears come from 15 points down in the first half and beat Staples in overtime. And for me, breathe life into this basketball season. Mike, there's a lot to unpack here with Jaylen. First of all, hi, and what did you think watching that?
Well, first of all, let's say that Jaylen Brown, as you said, breathes a fresh air into the FCX season. He's somebody that everybody should get out and see. What he did against Staples, to me, was really impressive. I haven't seen that since the days of maybe Jeremiah Livingston, and even going back to the young man that I had, Cedric Casimir. And what was most impressive about it was, sure, he got the 50 points, but he passed up a lot of shots that maybe I wish if I was coaching him, he would have taken. But he really, really impressed me on that last shot, down 3 points with 8 seconds to go. He gets the ball, dribbles, links right to the right corner, and lets it fly like he was taking a free throw, and hit nothing but net, tied the game up, and then took over in overtime. I mean, he's really impressive. And as I say, everybody should get out to see this young man play. He's a player. He's a good player, and somebody that we haven't seen in the FCAC in a while.
No, I went back and looked at past all FCAC teams, and you and I have talked a lot this week since Tuesday about him. And I go back to 2015, and Jeremiah Livingston at West Hill was the last player that really dominated the league. He kind of helped carry West Hill to the title. And again, 2013, and you had Cedric Casimir. And the two are so similar in terms of size, in terms of game, in terms of importance to their team. And as I found out this week, in terms of quality of person too, just really good, fun-loving guys. They're better kids than they are basketball players. And if you saw Ced play, or if you've seen Jaylen play, that's really saying something.
Well, there's no question about it. And just to reiterate, Cedric always had the ability to make the big shot when he had to, and Jaylen seems to have that same quality. And again, I can't say enough about him. He's averaging, I think you told me before we went on the air, 30 points a game, which is about what Cedric averaged. And Cedric actually played 28 games that season and averaged 30 points plus a game. Of course, he got to get to the state final. So, Norwalk, you can't count them out against any team because of him. If he gets any kind of support from his fellow players, I think they have a chance to be pretty successful. I think Division II, are they in? I don't know whether
I didn't even check, but probably. And you made a good point. I want to get to a couple of his teammates in a couple of minutes, but I got to tell you, I was at the game, and like my blood for the first time, and I can't tell you how long, was like, wow, I'm really into this again. This is like old FCAC basketball. I was kind of looking at what stood out to me, and this is how far back you got to go. I remember the 2017 FCAC final between Ridgefield and Wilton at Fairfield University, where the place was packed an hour and a half before tip-off, and all the energy in that gym. I could go. I mean, that's going back 6 years ago. And I could probably go back and find some games here or there that that were exciting or had some buzz to it or had a great finish. But I'm sitting there in the bleachers at Staples, and I haven't felt like that in a long, long time. And this, it's been a pretty, it's been the nice way to say it. It's been a really vanilla basketball season so far. I'll tell you what, I'm ready to just cover Norwalk every game.
Well,
You know what? You know what it is? And I don't want to compare him in terms of overall talent, but last spring when Hero Wyatt was pitching for Staples, and of course he was a third-round draft pick of the Royals, I almost didn't want to miss when he pitched because I never knew you never knew what you were going to see. I didn't want to miss a perfect game, or I didn't want to miss, 21 batters and 21 strikeouts. It's almost like right now, what's Jaylen going to do? Will he score 60 one night?
well, yeah, and he followed that up by playing Ridgefield, and he had 29 against Ridgefield. And Ridgefield is, obviously very good and very good on defense, but he was still able to get 29 against them. So, it's going to be interesting to see how much he's able to, how well he's able to carry the Norwalk team into the playoffs and maybe into the state tournament. Um, he's he's not big. He's 5'9". He's quick. He does get to the basket. He understands the game. I was talking to his AAU coach the other day, TJ Trumbull, and he, by the way, had both he and TJ Wright on that team,
I
along
was
with
going to mention in a second, they're teammates.
yeah, the three, and also the three best players from Notre Dame of Fairfield, along with his own son, and he also was very helpful in the career of Cedric Casper. He got him up to South Kent, which eventually led to Iona, and how well he did there. But I asked him that between the two of them. He actually said that Jayden is much more vocal, which I kind of found is surprising. But thinking about it, Cedric was more of a
Jaylen is, he's not outspoken, but he's vocal. Cedric hardly spoke.
no, he was a silent assassin,
Yeah, he
Cedric,
was.
but yeah, but he's one guy that would get me off the computer watching all these live streams to go out and see him in person.
I
And
wanna. I will pay. The Rudin Report will pay for the limo for you to come. You can come. You can come Thursday night with me, and we'll get to that because we get to see get to see our boy coaching too. But you know, I I'm doing a story on Jaylen that's going to run Monday or Tuesday. I went Monday to Norwalk's practice. Martin Luther King Day, school was closed, and I went to the end of the practice to interview him, and sat with him in Garrett Hickey's office for about 10 minutes. And he's just such a great kid. He's got an infectious personality. He's confident. He's not cocky. And I was going to run the story Tuesday, and then games got postponed, and I said, A, I wanted my photographer to get pictures of him. So I said, I want to get good photos for the story, and I want to watch him play before I write. So sometimes you get lucky, and I held the story till this week, and it's going to definitely change the dynamic of what I write about after seeing him score 50 and then coming back and scoring 29 against the top team in the league.
yeah, no, and he is somebody, as you talked about, should be exciting, and I will get to see him. Hopefully, get to see him in the state in the FCAC playoffs. But he really excites you as a fan, and even as a former coach, and as a sports writer, and that says a lot. As you said, maybe the last person to do that was Jeremiah Livingston, and we've had some great players. Don't get me wrong, but he's more dynamic, I think, than and the way he goes about it. Even watching that Staples game, Dave, I thought there were a couple times when he should have shot the ball, but he gave it up to a teammate. Now I think he's trying to develop everybody on the team so that they can be better going forward.
Yeah, and he didn't even shoot 50% from the field. He was 17 for 37 from the field. He was 11 for 11 from the line. First quarter, he only had 4 points and 3 turnovers. And it sounds crazy. Staples played good defense on him. He had 6 turnovers.
Yeah,
Staples actually defended him pretty well, but sometimes great players can overcome that, especially in the first half. They had Nathan Smith, they had Udell there. Dave Goldshire was throwing everybody at him, and the 3-point shot that he hit, Sam Clacko had his arms right up in his face.
that,
That
there's,
he was well defended. And a lot of people, I've gotten many texts and emails. Well, they should have fouled him. I talked to Dave Goldshaw. He thought it was, something could happen on the free throw line, a make and then a miss.
well,
And
that's another whole story. I mean, I got to be totally honest with you. As an old former coach, I would have fouled him. He never would have got over half court without getting his jersey grabbed or something like that. There's no way I let that kid take the last shot. Now, I don't disagree with the philosophy, what he was thinking about the, possible. But you're up three with 8 seconds to go in the game, and you have a kid like Jaylen Brown. Not happening. I don't guard the inbounders. I put three guys on him, and the other guys want to beat me. God bless them. That's how good this kid is, though.
I would have put 5 guys on him.
Well, I don't know
Hope
if I
that
go
somebody else, what would you rather have? Somebody else take a layup or to have Jaylen take the shot that he did?
well, they would have had to shoot a 3-pointer. But at the same point, and I don't think Dave should be criticized for that because
Nah, it's hindsight.
no, it's a coach's decision, and you watch some of these college games and in the pro games even they don't foul on the end there. So
I gotta say, as a basketball fan, it's like the right strategy to foul, but there's something unsavory about it. It's not basketball. It's kind of like
it's like an intentional walk in baseball,
let the
right?
game go like that and stop the guy. That's like real basketball. So, but
Yeah, but I was always interested.
no, I know, but do you want to win the game or do you want
real basketball? Just get a win.
Yeah,
Just win. Somebody said that. I don't
That's
know.
just kind of like the old, when you didn't have to worry about 3-point shots or fouling and stuff back when I was playing. It's just like go out there and play basketball. So a couple of guys
Was the ball round in those days when you
that I don't know. Well, you were using peach baskets, so I.
Yeah, exactly. Just to climb up and get it out there.
I remember Rush and the peach baskets there and Earl and.
No, but he's fantastic.
Before we get back to Jaylen, a couple of guys that this is a year basketball's changed, and a guy like Jaylen can win games for you this year that maybe Cedric couldn't have back in against what the FCAC competition was. And I think this is going to be the key for how Norwalk does as a team going forward. They had a couple other guys that without them, Jaylen would have scored 50 in defeat. Savi Kidonis, who's an all-state defensive back for the Norwalk football team, he face guarded Sam Clacko in the second half in overtime. Clacko had 22 points in the first half. Clacko was matching Jaylen in the first half, and they did a great job of denying him the ball and holding him to just 6 points after halftime. So that was
not to interrupt you, Dave. I don't mean to interrupt, but a lot of that had to do with the strategy. In the beginning, Norwalk was trying to 2-2-1 press, and they were pressing, and you can't do that against a good team like Staples because they'd hit the middle, go opposite, and leave the guy wide open for a three in a corner. And that happened to be Sam several times. And like you say, he had 5 threes. And that's why they got up. In the second half, he went to what you just talked about, face guarding him with the defensive back. And that's when they started shutting him down and the Staples team down. And, really, I thought that was a good strategy, changing your defense's mix is what he did in that case, Garrett Hickey. And that allowed Jaylen to make the shots and allowed them to take I don't think did Sam take a shot in the third quarter? I didn't.
I got I was so
Didn't
Jaylen
score. I
that
don't think.
I'm pretty certain he didn't touch the ball for the first 4 minutes of the third quarter. I might have missed a possession, but I remember him getting the ball with about 4 minutes to go and thinking, I think this is the first time he's even touched the ball. And
So, I mean, that was a great coaching move then on Hickey's part, I guess.
another guy that really, again, it was so into Jaylen, but Jackson Irmo for them, and we talked about him during this week. He had 12 rebounds, 8 on the offensive boards, and scored 7 points. So some of Jaylen's points, he was the beneficiary of Irmo working the offensive boards and giving them second chance situations. So if you get and they've been getting some scoring. They had Ruzi Janis had 5 assists for them. If Jaylen gets some support like that with some scoring, some rebounding, Norwalk's gonna be a dangerous team and not just the Jaylen show.
Well, the big kid inside Irma, he's strong. He's pretty good size. And then
He did a great job on the boards. Like I said, I kind of feel bad that it was hard not to get caught up in the moment with Jaylen and not give these other guys credit. And I want to make sure did so on the podcast because they were real important to the outcome.
well, two big threes were made by number 12, and I'm sorry I don't remember his name. He was wide open and banged 2 threes.
The kid Izzy.
Yeah, I mean, really, which was big. And then he went down with an ankle injury. But, as you say, they can get contributions. And as my point is that Jaylen tries to get them involved. And I think that's important if they're going to be a winning team. And I'm sure Coach Hickey encourages in that. But Jaylen understands the game, and he knows he's not going to be able to do it himself all the time. And these other guys have to help out, as evidenced in the Ridgefield game when he had 29, but the rest of the team had 12 points. So and then they end up losing by 18, I think. But and obviously Ridgefield's probably right now the number one team in the FCI. So all that being said, I was really impressed with Norwalk, and to be honest with you, Staples. Not that they disappointed me, but I thought that they kind of had a down week. And
yeah, a little of the luster fell off Staples this week because then they bounced back and we'll get to the game in a second. Lost to Stamford by 3 points, which isn't a horrible loss at all, but
they sort of like they got Jaylen Brown. Beat them, and then Presley got them the next night or next game.
Yeah, and yeah. I mean, like I said, for me, an old basketball guy, it just it breathed life into me. I haven't felt like that sitting in a gym in a long time.
Well,
we're having. It's nice to see in an age. I won't go on a rant here, where all these top players are going to prep school so that they can end up in college at the exact same place that they'll play at if they stayed at their conference school. I don't think anybody should be PGing personally until after they're done with their high school career. And all these players, I think, who unfortunately are chasing fool's gold to think they're gonna leap that much higher and don't. And unfortunately, the FCAC, because of this, has lost a lot of good players, and you know what? It was just there was excitement in the gym, and I think Jaylen's going to have a following now. It's going to be interesting to see on their road games how many people come out to watch them.
Yeah, and let's say this: your point about prep school. Cedric Casimir, by the way, was the best example of that. He played 4 years at Trinity. I didn't play him much as a freshman, but he came on as a sophomore, junior, and senior year, had over 800 points. He ended up at South Kent with a really, really good team. In fact, Tremont Waters, who I don't know if people know who he is, but he ended up being a terrific player and actually was on the Celtics for a year. But both of them played in a backcourt. He ended up going to Iona from prep school. So that year of prep school after really, really helped him. and he was
The
Division
prep,
One.
the, pre- yeah, to me, and again, I don't tell anybody how to live. The prep school helps you after you've graduated in terms of what you want to do. I just think all these kids that lose a year of their lives, and I just think that they all end up, you hear where they're going, and they all end up at the same place where they would have if they played on their high school team. Almost
Yeah,
every time.
no, no question. But we're off
I
on a
remember you.
tangent.
I remember you telling me once years ago, in all your years, there was only one player that you ever thought was, from your standpoint, that benefited, and that was Brandon Wheeler.
No, it was Aaron Wheeler, yeah, his
Aaron Wheeler,
brother.
I mean.
Yes, and Aaron actually, I was all for that move. He was a young sophomore, and we charged at Trinity, so it costs money to go to Trinity. Although some people don't believe that, but he went to up to school, St. George. I think it was St. Andrews in Rhode Island. They took care of his whole tuition and went to Brewster and on to Duke. For him, it was a benefit. But of all the kids that I came in contact with, and I had 30 Division One players, none of them really benefited from any thoughts of prep school. They went the year after, like in the case of Cedric, and they ended up in Division One. And he was at Iona and was freshman player of the year and all that stuff. But you really enjoy your high school experience. That's why some of the kids that are leaving for prep school. I don't know. I think they have visions of sugar plum fairies and dancing in their head. But look, we're here to talk FCX, and
Yeah,
I think
and the only reason I brought that up is because we're losing Jaylen Browns, and it's really killing FCX basketball. And as somebody who, I'm a basketball guy, and I got it. Like I said, I hadn't felt like that in a long time watching a game. It was it
it
was
is exciting.
it was electric, and it was fun for me. I was like, it's I can tell when I'm like anxious to get to the computer and write a story. I came back and it was like boom, it's like a challenge as a writer. How do I make my words justify what I just saw and do proper justice to it? And you know what? It was kind of cool. I don't know, you probably didn't. I should have sent you the interview because I know you're not on social media, but I videotaped the interview I did with him after. And the first thing I said to him, you go off for 50 points. I didn't get another word out. He goes, 50? Really? He had no idea how many points he scored. And you know what? All he cared about is that he won the game.
No, that's great. That's the kind of kid he is, and we should be proud of him in the FCAC, and definite candidate for Player of the Year. But there's others around, and I think that you should get out and see these guys because they really they play hard, and we have this year in particular. I don't want to get up on a tangent here, but we have very good players who kind of carry their teams, like Jaylen Brown, like TJ Wright at St. Joe's.
You know what? Yeah, you know who play each other Tuesday night?
Oh, the two of them go head to
St.
head,
Joe's
huh?
Norwalk.
Well,
I'm tempted. I'm going to go up to Ridgefield because I haven't seen Stamford play yet, and I want to see Stamford. But there's part of me that's saying, what am I going to miss? Am I going to have like one guy score 50 and the other score 45? It's going to be like it could be an NBA All-Star game.
you're going to Ridgefield, so that means on your way home you'll be calling me, and I'll have watched the live stream
You're
between
gonna,
the two.
yeah. You know what? I might watch the live stream sitting in the stands there.
I feel it's going to be an overtime game, and they're both going to go for 40 plus, and it'll be historical.
And Jaylen told me, I didn't know until I interviewed him Monday that they were teammates together on the same AAU team, and he says they talk to each other almost every day. I said, you guys like have little personal challenges? Who's going to score more points? And he goes, nah, we just,
They actually, as I think I said, that they're a group of kids that all played for TJ Trimboli, and they were very successful. Had the three kids who now go to Notre Dame at Fairfield, along with TJ and Jaylen. And I don't know how TJ was always able to keep them, happy with all the balls, but they won, and he did a great job. They won a lot of tournaments, along with TJ's son AJ, who's at King School. But it's really nice to see those kids be successful.
Guess what? Games I never thought in the beginning of December that I would be going to cover. Thursday night, I guess there's the countywide dance this week, and so I'm going to benefit on Thursday and Saturday. But Ludlow and our boy John Daly, congratulations on win number 100 on Friday. But Ludlow's 4-1, and they're going to play Norwalk, and I'm going to go watch that game.
No, that again, that'll be interesting because John Daly, as you say, won his 100th game, and he's a very good defensive coach. Now, how he's going to defend Jaylen Brown, that'll be great to see.
Put 5 guys on him, John.
Well, my theory in those days, and John may, I don't know how he feels and
how would you, Mike? How would I didn't even ask you this.
I'd let him score his 30 points.
How would you defend? Seriously, if you're coaching against them on Tuesday night, what do you do?
Well, I mean, if I was coaching against them, I may try to shut everybody else off and try to give him his 30 points, and then hopefully we got enough guys that can score, almost like what Ridgefield did in that situation. You kind of play your game. Now, if in fact I didn't feel I could do that, I would try to face guard him and deny him the ball.
Would you mix up? Would you do any diamond one or?
Yes, I would play some kind of diamond one. Try to deny him the ball when he touched the ball, double team him. But it's awful tough to do. I mean, having had experience with Cedric, everybody played Cedric a box of one. But the thing, and they try to double him. The thing when you try to double a guard as quick and as good as Jaylen or Cedric, is that they split the double and they're 5-on-3. Exactly. And, I mean, Wilbur Cross tried to do it to us in the state quarterfinals up at Ward. I'll never forget it. They told me that, I overheard them, I hate to say this, in the men's room, saying, "You're going to stop this, Casimir. We're going to double team it." They didn't know I was in the next stall. And yeah. They tried to double team Cedric.
Now we know the secret to your success, hiding out in the men's room in the stalls before games.
I'm tape recording, right? But they tried to double team him. He split the double teams, and we were 5-on-3 getting layups, and we ended up beating by 12 or 14 points. A very good Wilbur Cross team. So it's tough. You got to make a decision, and you try to limit them. But I would try to shut down the rest of the team, like Ridgefield did.
It's like I said, it's a lot of fun. I was so set on Ridgefield, Stamford, and now I'm thinking about St. Joe's and Norwalk, and it's kind of like, man, what I probably still have to go to Ridgefield, but there's part of me that's saying, what am I going to miss?
Teams, by the way, at St. Joe's and Norwalk, and that game they're going to be fighting for a 7th or 8th seed, I think. And
after and we're going to take a break in a second and then come back and go around the rest of the league. But
we talked that long already.
We've talked about this. This is the most excited we've been in a long time. Thank you, Jaylen. Like I said, this is like Jaylen got me pumped up.
Well, that's great. It's great that everybody should be pumped up about kids like Jaylen and TJ Wright. And, by the way, you're going to the Ridgefield Stamford game. Let's talk about Presley when we get back. Because
we gotta go around the league, and if Jaylen Brown got the most hype this week, EJ Presley at Stamford was number 2. And why don't we take a break, and when we come back, we'll go around the league and talk about Stamford, Trumbull, and a few other teams. We'll be right back. We're back, and believe it or not, there was life outside of Jaylen Brown in the FCAC. And Mike, we're going to go out of order the way we originally we're going to do this, because if Jaylen got the most hype, a not too distant number two is EJ Presley at Stanford. Uh, I mean, he's been getting talked about all year, and rightfully so. But Stanford got Staples the night after Norwalk, and you watched the game online while I was at Trumbull. I guess a back and forth roller coaster game. Stanford held on for a 60-57 win. EJ went 24 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. But I had at least 2 or 3 people text me, talk to me after, said that kid's the best defensive player I can remember seeing.
Well, he's very good defensively, but their whole offense runs through EJ Presley. Uh, he when they need a basket, he tries to score that basket, and most of the time he's successful scoring that basket. And he'll give the ball up too. But I think when he feels a need to score, he gets to the basket or he'll bang a 3-point shot. And let's remember one thing: he's really just getting his basketball legs. He was obviously had a tremendous football year under Donnie Panipata, and he's getting basketball mode in a basketball mode, and he's tough. I mean, he's going to score.
He's one of the he's one of the premier all around athletes in the FCA.
No, no question.
Just talking about great athletes, EJ's in the conversation for top athletes.
There's no question, and he did in the Staples game. Whenever they needed a big basket, he got it. When they needed to stop, he helped stop them. They got a little help from Winchester and Ryan. I always forget Ryan's last name.
Ryan Connors.
Yeah, Ryan
Connors had 13 and Winchester 11 in that game.
Yeah, I should remember that. But those three. But the thing with Stanford is that J.J. Salvatore has been out, and I think he's the type of kid that can really add to that team because he's a smart basketball player, and he'll make them even better. So they certainly are a threat to the FCAC, and as long as they get EJ performing at the level he's capable of performing, and the other guys contributing, they're going to have a chance to win a lot of games and maybe win the FCI.
I have to look where Stanford plays Norwalk, assuming EJ is going to be on Jaylen. That'd be fun. That'd be fun. He held TJ Wright to 5 or 6 points.
Yeah, and TJ Wright had a bad shooting night, and a lot of it was due to EJ. But that would be interesting too. I don't know if going back to TJ Wright versus Jaylen Brown, are they going to guard each other? That could be really interesting.
I don't know. The more I'm talking about this, the more I'm saying, which game should I go to on Tuesday night?
Well, you got to go to that Stamford Ridgefield because they're both undefeated in the league. Although Richfield's played a much tougher schedule than Stamford. And I don't know if J.J. Salvatore is available for him that night. They're going to need him in that situation.
We know Ridgefield's status. We're trying to determine whether Stanford is a title contender or the next rung down.
Yeah, that's they really haven't beaten. I mean, obviously they got Staples in a tough situation coming off the loss to Norwalk in overtime. The next night they had to play Stanford at Stanford, and Stanford was able to hang on and beat them. But their schedule is challenging coming up, and I think we'll find out. And I'm sure that Coach Latour has put them into the confidence mode, and I think they'll be a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, well, let's put it this way. I think they need JJ back to be able to contend for a title, and I think JJ could make that difference.
Yeah, there's no question about it. And they had a couple other role players who did some good things against Staples, but again, how much of that was Staples coming off? Like they had open shots. Sam Klesko had a couple open threes that didn't go down. He missed a couple of foul shots, but how much of that had to do with him playing his heart out on Thursday night and having to come back Saturday and play
Do you
Stamford?
get if you have a kid go off like that, usually your kids were going off on other teams. If you have to come back, are you a little shell shocked after something like that?
I would. I think it's more tiredness, and you're not shell shocked. Your legs. I mean, you just don't
And the
have.
game went and the game went into overtime. It wasn't just they played the night before, but they played overtime too.
No, and it was a gut wrenching game, a gut wrenching loss, and I think maybe you lose your legs in the next game a little bit. In the first half, not really. They started out poorly, but then they came back, and Staples was ahead at halftime. And then I don't know if Coach Latour gave them a halftime speech, but they came out and they outscored them, I think, by about 14 points in that third quarter. And Staples came back a little bit, but it was an interesting game to watch. I think talking about these two teams going forward. If they say each other in the playoffs, anything could happen. I think.
Well, I think we're both in agreement. There's a clear-cut number two if there's a threat to Ridgefield, and I got to see them on Friday night in Trumbull, and the Eagles went out to a big lead and really surprisingly blew out Wilton 76-51. Story of the game, the quick ball movement that Buddy Bray's using, have the ball stay a step ahead of the defenders. They hit 14 threes. And there was one sequence, haven't seen something like this in the third quarter, where one of their subs, a three-point specialist, Joey DeMarco, I timed it 28 seconds, 3 straight possessions, same spot, right side corner, hit 3 straight threes and made a 16-point game, a 25-point game. And
Wow.
Trumbull's tough, and your guy, my guy, Owen Bull. When he's there, it's a big difference. He's there. There's a lot of talent there. He's the glue to a lot of good players.
There's no question about it. And I spoke to Colin Devine, the assistant coach, yesterday, and he told me that he took 4 charges to go along with his points and assists, and you talk about glue. He just makes them go. He's the kind of athlete that you need on a team to make your team successful. I mean, he's selfless, and he makes the other kids around him better. He rebounds the basketball, and he's a good defender. And the other kids kind of buy into that. I think Trumbull's defense is pretty good. Now, Wilton didn't shoot well that night, and their defense had something to do with it. But to score 14 threes in a game, that if you lose that game, that's something wrong. That's a really good shooting.
That actually is their offense this year. It's not so much running plays as a philosophy of just keep the ball going, so that the defense can't adjust till it ends up in the hands of somebody with an open shot.
That's what I saw. The little I saw of that game was that they look to run the break, and if they don't get anything out of the break, they reverse the ball and reverse the ball again. And I think that kind of offense can be successful if you can hit threes, and they seem to be able to do that. And they're going to need to do that when they play a Ridgefield, for example. But outside of that, Ridgefield, they kind of match up pretty well with Ridgefield. Similar type players. They don't have the big kid inside like Nick Skenga, but
You got his name right too. Nice job.
I've been practicing that
You've been
name.
practicing that one. You got Skenga in the first go.
He's tough. Watching him a little bit against Norwalk, he just dominated Norwalk inside, and he's something that the rest of the FCAC really doesn't have, and I think that along with
Skenga,
some
off
of
the top of my head, Skenga and Kramer are the two really good centers.
yeah, and I don't know, and again, Kramer is not as experienced as Nick, but he's a good player. And I think you're right. They're the two kind of dominant centers in the league.
Yep, I'm high in Trumbull and different Wilton team this year. Wilton's not a certainty for the FCAC tournament. I don't think right now. They're gonna have to pick it up a little. Joe doesn't have the scores that he's used to.
Well, just judging from the comments that he made to you, he seems to be a little bit down on their progress this year. But if anybody can get them to play to a playoff team level, it's Joel. He'll figure something out, and I wouldn't bet against him not making the playoffs. He can make the playoffs. Again, like you said, different kind of team and the different kind of strategy that he's going to have to use. I'm more amazed at the defense that Wilton plays. They have trouble making shots and scoring points, but they give up a lot of open threes. Which I'm sure he's going to try and adjust. Because I remember the game against Ward. Ward, I don't know how many they had. They must have about 9 or 10 threes on him, and 14 by Trumbull. So anyway, Wilton has a way to go, and we wish Joel all the luck in getting them to get there. But again, we're looking at a Trumbull team that I think can challenge Ridgefield.
I think they have the best chance. I agree with you. They match up in terms of quality of starters and depth. They can also. Yeah, I think Buddy's the only person outside of Drew with Ridgefield who can bring 2 or 3 players off the bench that can make contributions and not just rest starters.
No, you're absolutely right. And we didn't even mention Ryan Johnson had what, 27 points?
He had 25. He had 27, had 5 threes in the game.
Yeah, and he's a heck of an athlete too.
They got if you go and look at Ridgefield, I should ask Colin to do this, or Buddy. I bet you Ridgefield's had like 4 or 5 different players lead the team in scoring on a given night, and that's the other thing that makes them dangerous.
Yeah, and I'm really impressed in Ridgefield's Alex Hickey. I didn't really know too much about him to start the season, but he's made some big shots, and I think he had, I don't know, 14, 15 against Norwalk, something like that.
Yeah, 19. He had 19. I was just your step ahead of me there, going over to give Ridgefield a little mention this week. But yeah, they 62-41 over Norwalk. It's kind of just business as usual right now with Ridgefield. They're just they're just doing their thing, and Alex Hickey's starting to score a little bit. I don't know. Drew also has a team where different guys. Alistair Walsh had 14 and Skeng at 12 against Norwalk, and all 3 of those guys could lead this team in scoring on any given night. But if we're seeing another scoring threat emerge, if Hickey's going to do this consistently, makes Ridgefield all the more dangerous.
I think he has been doing it pretty consistently. He's a type of player that for some reason, Drew always comes up with these type of kids that he's able to plug them into the lineup, and they're able to do whatever they have to do, whether it's getting the ball inside or hitting an outside shot. But the thing about Ridgefield this year that I see from watching them is they play really good defense. He's actually switched up a little bit. He played a lot of 1-2-2 half court, 3/4 court pressure, which with the shot clock and stuff makes you kind of get into your offense kind of quick, or try to quickly. It causes turnovers, and then he goes back into the man, and they play solid man, great help side defense. They take charges fundamentally, and they rebound, box out. They really are a veteran team, if you want to call it that. And I think that
it's just a system. It's just a system. It's just kind of like, like I said, I think Ridgefield with Trumbull there. I think there's a gap with Ridgefield, and it's kind of like it's almost like we're taking Ridgefield for granted just because we expect them to be good. I don't know if that's fair or not. I guess it's a compliment. Like I said, this Ridgefield team this year, there's a little bit of a gap between them and the rest of the league. And I think the question is how much of a gap and the Trumbull dynamic there.
Well, that's true, and they're getting better and better. They've improved since the first time I saw them against Notre Dame at Fairfield, and that's dangerous for the rest of the league. But I do think Trumbull, possibly Stanford, and then some of the other teams if they have a hot night shooting, and anybody can beat anybody in that. It's not quite like the Big East where everybody gets 1 point games, and yesterday was fabulous watching those games.
Big East is a good watch this year.
It really is, and I like to think the FCAC is the same way, but it's to me right now it's those Ridgefield, Trumbull, and maybe Stamford, and the rest of the teams are scrambling for positions for the playoffs. And then once you get in the playoffs, everybody's 0-0, and we saw what happened last year. Staples got all the way to the finals and lost to Danbury, a team we haven't even mentioned, but they've kind of regrouped, and I think they had a couple wins this past week.
Yeah, Danbury two wins, and we'll keep an eye on them. They're a team to watch. And before we close out, I just wanted to take a quick little trip to Fairfield, where Ward and Ludlow are combined 9-1 in the league right now. Ward has stayed undefeated. You were watching the game and giving me updates, but I guess they almost got tripped up a couple of times this week at New Canaan and at Central, right?
Yeah, Central game was close, a 2 point game with like a minute or so to go in the game. And they ended up, and Central hadn't been able to practice, from what I understand, all week. I guess their gym, there's something wrong. But of course, that goes back to the Allen Iverson theory: practice. Who needs practice? Not a game. But anyway, no, they played well, Central, against Ward, but Ward pulled it out. And then Ward went to New Canaan, who, I told somebody the other day, Dan Melzer at New Canaan is going to beat somebody who's not supposed to beat. And he had a real chance against Ward, and Ward had their whole squad. They were ready to play, but tie score going into overtime, and New Canaan just couldn't make the shots to go with them. Really, Ward last week, I think, was fortunate to get 2 W's, but they did, and that's good. They build Coach Hickey, Coach Henry, Justin Henry will remind them that everybody that shows up and has uniforms, we better be ready to play. And that was a good way to get 2 wins and learn from a lesson from that.
Kind of hard to believe that New Canaan's 0-5 in the league.
Yeah, and really they're not the New Canaan team of the past. They can play pretty good defense. Their scoring, they really haven't had the scoring that Danny wants them to have. But again, I'll say it again, they're going to knock somebody off.
I agree. There's somebody right now, one of these teams that's 4-1, 5-0. He's going to get one of them at least.
Yeah, really, especially at his place. I know he used to always knock us up at Trinity every once in a while when nobody expected it, but look, he does a great job there, and he's going to beat some people. But speaking of great jobs, and I know you want to get on to the next one.
Yeah, let's finish up with our boy John Daly and Ludlow. Ludlow's winning these kind of 50-50-ish type games, and maybe they're not 50-50 anymore, but they're 4-1, and he's building up wins, and we could see him back in the FCAC playoffs this year.
I mean, that would be a great accomplishment, and if he does, it's his coaching ability, but also the Mahoney brothers and
Tate Mahoney.
Yeah, he really is a pretty good player. I mean, he rebounds, and he can score when they need him to score. Again, he's another guy who needs other people around him to help him. But 4-1, and if you look at their schedule, they have winnable games going right up to the Ward game, and that's a toss-up because it's 2 Fairfield teams. And I don't want to look that far ahead and jinx John, but the big one is this week. Is it this week they play Norwalk? No.
No.
You give me a schedule.
Oh, no,
Who
yeah, Thursday they play Norwalk.
they played right Thursday,
I'm
Norwalk.
gonna go. It's kind of cool to schedule this week. They got Thursday and then Saturday. They decided to do this for 1 year. Fairfield Ward and Ridgefield on Saturday are gonna play all their boys and girls games throughout the day, ending with the boys varsity game at 6 o'clock. So I guess boys and girls, freshman JV. The girls varsity game will go at 4, and then I get Saturday, not too far from my office here. I get Ward and Ridgefield, 6 o'clock Saturday.
Well, to be honest with you, that may be an opportunity for Ward on their home court to give Ridgefield a battle, like they did, I think, the last couple of years. The last year they played at Ridgefield at Ward. But that should be interesting too. I'm looking forward to watching Norwalk and Ward Ludlow.
That's kind of
Ludlow,
cool this week. I'm going to get to see 6 or 8 different teams. But having a Thursday and a Saturday game that I don't usually. So, I'll be
well,
able.
let's hope that you're as enthusiastic after this week
If
as you
I'm
were.
if I'm not enthusiastic, then I'll have Thursday. I don't know what I don't know. If I'm back at the Stamford Advocate and you're Bob Kennedy, you sending me Tuesday to Stamford Ridgefield, or you sending me to Norwalk St. Joe's?
I would send you to Stanford Richfield
Yeah,
only
well,
because
if it was
Stanford
the Advocate
Advocate.
days, we'd have a Stanford team there, so it wouldn't be.
Yeah,
I haven't seen Stanford yet. I was going to go to the Staples game, and I haven't seen Wilton yet. So I figured I'll see Wilton, I'll see Stanford, and then I'll have seen the teams that we pretty much had in the top 8. I'll have seen everybody at least once, but Jaylen, TJ, personal favor. Just each of you score just like 30 against each other on Tuesday. Don't do like a 60 and a 50 and disappoint me.
if they do that, it's history. But I'll keep you informed on the way home from Richfield.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I got the long ride home, so I'll feel like you gotta. I'm gonna put like the emergency alert on my phone, and if it's Jaylen and if it's the Jaylen and TJ show, hit the emergency button, and I'll find the where our I'll find the stream of the game somewhere.
Listen, as a fan, I'd like to see it go overtime and each of them score 40, and whoever wins wins. So let's
Now
see what.
I hope it's a good game. Like I said, I mean, I guess you could hear it from me. There's just a little bit more of a buzz this week.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
fun. It's fun, and we'll see where we're kind of the league's kind of taking form right now. We're kind of being able to tell contenders and pretenders, and we're gonna see. I think we have a top 3 right now. Ward's undefeated. They're probably saying, what about us? And rightfully so. And it's going to be a question we've kind of talked about of all these teams. How many of them are going to play at a consistent level, or is it going to be everybody beating everybody?
Well, it's interesting. Looking forward to seeing it, especially next week. I think next week will be a good week, and we'll have a great podcast next Sunday.
All right. Well, that's this week's episode of Nothing But Net. Again, I want to thank my co-host, Mike Walsh. I want to thank Cooper Boardman for the sound editing. A lot going on this week, and we'll be back to talk about it next week. Take care.